All right, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm your host today, Simon Villanos, and today we got another interview with a special guest. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, man, your name, position you play, and then where you're from / what high school you're at.
What's up, y'all? I'm Darian Diaz. I'm from El Paso, Texas. I go to Eastwood High School, and I am the class of 2024, and I play quarterback for the Troopers.
Yes, sir. And it's good to have you on, man. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Anytime, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So we got two questions here, and these two questions we pretty much ask all of our guests onto the show, these two. So the first one is, what is your favorite sports playing experience or memory? And so this could be football or any other sport that you have, but what's a sports memory that you were playing in, that you were involved in, that is really dear to you?
I would have to say my 8th grade year, we played our rival school, Bel Air Middle School, and that was for the district championship. And I'm actually not from El Paso, so I moved from Las Cruces to El Paso my 8th grade year. So my 8th grade year, they hadn't won a district championship in the past 10, 15 years. So when I got there, I won the starting job, and we played Bel Air for the district championship. And I remember there was a bunch of people there, and the pressure. I remember waking up that morning, and it was just, I don't know, something felt different in that game. I don't know, I felt like I couldn't hear anything. I mean, I was just so focused in, everything was moving slow motion for me. And when that final buzzer rang and we had won the game, I just felt so accomplished, and I was so proud, and I was proud of my teammates, and for sure that was probably one of many highlights for these next few years at Eastwood High School. So
yeah, for sure, man. And I'm happy you brought up a middle school football memory and brought up rivals, because I guess outside of Texas that's not as big of a thing. I remember, and this is just a quick detour here, but I remember when me and my buddy first started doing the podcast ourselves, we answered these two questions here. And I mentioned, so I'm from Dallas, right? Specifically Plano, so I guess a suburb up in Dallas. And, we had our little middle school rival, and I brought up a big memory, just, playing really well against a rival. And then he gave me some crap about it. But, hey, it's a cool thing, though. In Texas, it's different, right? It gets going. And
football's a religion here.
Oh yeah. I love it though. It's a lot of pressure in the moment, but it makes good memories for sure. So no doubt about that. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume you're probably a sports fan as well. So what's your favorite sport viewing experience? This could be something you saw in person or on TV or wherever.
Oh, 100% going to a baseball stadium and seeing a baseball game. 100%. Smelling the freshly roasted peanuts, the fresh cut grass.
Yeah.
Baseball is just a whole other different, beautiful aspect of sports. And I'm a football and baseball player, so I love both of them equally. But eventually, I will have to choose one. But I would say that I love seeing a baseball game more than I like to see football games. So 100% a baseball game.
Yeah, for sure. And I totally get that, man. I totally get that. All right, then. That's interesting. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So obviously maybe it's not obvious to the listeners there, but obviously you got to listen to your own breakdown. And I believe that was request part 19, I want to say. We did a breakdown of you and a couple other young Texas quarterbacks as well. You were our oldest one as a freshman, though, and so that's why we have you on, because we usually don't interview middle schoolers. It's high schoolers is where we start doing that. And so, I'm just gonna ask straight up, what was your reaction to, my evaluation of your game and whatnot?
I honestly love to hear what people have to say. You can be a guy that's never played football, and sometimes, I can have something I can take out of what feedback they give me. And so I loved everything you said, and you had some really good points. You pointed out that I need to look more comfortable running the offense, and learning the offense will help me pick apart defenses better. keeping my eyes downfield a little bit longer. And you complimented my frame. I'm not the tallest guy, but I'm for sure not an easy guy to tackle. So, I may be a little bit undersized, but that I'm gonna grow a little bit more, and I can still be a problem. I know that for sure. And I'd say I'm a pretty different and rare quarterback because I'd say most quarterbacks are pretty fragile, and I've never had injury problems, and I can run the ball for you. I'm not a Lamar Jackson or a Kyler Murray kind of guy, but I can get the job done like Patrick Mahomes or like Josh Allen. Those are guys that I run like. I'm more of a power runner, but I can throw the ball like as good and better than almost any quarterback you can name, and I have that confidence in myself. And the program and the offense that we run at Eastwood it works really well for me and caters to my skill sets very, very well. Mm-hmm. We run like a spread offense, so that all that will help me in the long run to get better film, become a better player, and eventually get recruited. So, your breakdown of me really showed me some other things like staying in the pocket. Coaches love to see a guy that can sit in the pocket, and they have one guy that rushes them from the outside, and then guys right away take off. But you pointed out that you think I can just slide up a little bit, wait a little bit, and look my receivers open. That's another one that I need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of good things, man.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, man. And I appreciate that you remember a lot of these things and obviously took them to heart. Because, look, I'm just going to be honest with you. I think you're a heck of a talent. You definitely got screwed over by COVID, though. I'm just going to be real with you. So I want to get this right. You played 2 games your freshman year. Is that right?
2 games, and then I got pulled up to varsity, and I was just taking reps behind our starting guy, Andrew Martinez.
Okay. Did you get in any of those games, or was it really just you there as a backup?
Yeah, I was there as a backup, really.
Okay. Fair enough. And that's interesting because I do think you're that kind of player for sure that can be a varsity type of guy on a lot of teams, not just obviously this one, but, just a lot of teams in Texas in general. And, having 2 games, that's a tough deal. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's just a real tough deal. And you also said one of them wasn't recorded, and it was a whole thing, right? And so I really do think moving forward, you can be one of the better talents, on that side of Texas over in El Paso, and I guess the RGV as well, if you want to include that, because there's definitely some talent that has been growing in the past couple years. I have to ask you this: did you ever get to watch the show Friday Night Tykes? It was on Netflix for a little bit as well.
Yeah, I did. I always used to watch that as a kid.
Oh, good. So you're familiar with some of those RGV players like, Jeremy Duran and all of them, right?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Jeremy Duran and all those guys.
Yeah, well, that's good. So we actually got to interview Kenny Long. He announced a lot of those Friday Night Type games, pretty much all of them actually. And we had a conversation about players on your side of Texas, pretty much, and how much the game has been growing and how much that talent has been really been cultivated over the last couple of years, especially, and I really do feel like you could definitely be in that kind of, I guess, area as a Jeremy Duran, or even moving forward. And I got to scout a couple players from there as well, for the various colleges I was with, but even Eddie Marburger as well, and oh my gosh, I'm like blanking out so bad, but he ended up playing baseball. He was a senior last year, but all those guys, right? And so I'm really excited to, I guess, just see you grow and be able to develop a little bit more. But anyways, back to your game. So you did talk about, some guys you model your game after, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Is there anybody else that you model your game after as a quarterback, or are those really like the main guys that you look at and say, yeah, I could be one of those types?
Yeah, so I love watching football. Honestly, I like college football. So one of my favorite favorite guys is Spencer Rattler. I absolutely
Okay.
adore Spencer Rattler. Um, I feel like I play kind of like Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler isn't the biggest guy. He's only about 6 foot, 6'1",
Hmm.
210 pounds. So he's not the biggest guy. I love the way he spins it. He's not much of a runner, but man, that guy can spin it. And
Okay.
I like Kyler Murray. I've always loved Kyler Murray. His size. I don't really play like him. I throw a little bit like him, but
Sure.
I run. I'd say probably on my best day I could run a 4.5. Kyler Murray probably runs like a 4.3.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I could confirm that because I got to compete against him in person. He was a couple years older than me, but that was yeah, no, he's definitely an exceptional athlete. And that's okay. You don't have to be exactly like these guys, but those are some really interesting quarterbacks that you brought up. There aren't many. I mean, we've interviewed some good quarterbacks. We got to interview up here in Colorado Braden Dorman. He's a sophomore, and he's honestly one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He'll probably be top 5 quarterback, maybe even the top quarterback once his time comes. And so he got to mention some guys, but they're pretty much all pro guys when they're mentioned. So I like that you got to mention, Spencer Rattler, Kyler Murray for sure. I mean, I think if you're from the state of Texas, you got to know what Kyler is all about, right?
Oh yeah,
Because he did it all. Oh yeah, and he was a baseball player too. So
yeah, I love that too.
yeah, for sure. So that's interesting, and I see a lot of that as well. So moving forward, I think you kind of mentioned some things here, but I just want to ask you though. But what are 2 to 3 qualities, in your opinion, that separate you from like other quarterbacks in the state?
I would say my character for one. Since I've been a little kid, I've always had a ball in my hand. My
Hmm.
dad coached at Bowie High School. And it's a very rough high school, like 50 yards from the border. So that in no stretch of the imagination is that a nice high school, and I grew up around that, and so I
Hmm.
always saw how the struggle is, and I always had a baseball in my hand. I always had their pads and their helmets on. I was always at the games, and that always brought me to be the athlete that I am. So I always saw the expectations, and my dad is very, very hard. I can ask some of his ex players, and they'll tell me that Coach Diaz doesn't mess around. So I'd say the structure that I've had since I was a little kid has formed me into being an independent player. You'll never have to ask me, hey, Darian, are you hitting the gym? Darian, are you throwing every day? Darian, are you studying the playbook? I don't think that'll ever be a problem. So that's one of them. Number 2 is, you'll never have to worry about my character. I have a 3.9 GPA. I'm always good in the classroom. My teachers have always complimented me and my parents. And so I'm never going to be a problem or a distraction for your team. And, number 3, I'm a player that, a lot of people they're going to say, oh, he's too small. Oh, he's too slow. But, there's going to be one coach that's going to come on to me, and he's going to be, that kid is special. And, I know deep down in my heart and in my mind that I'm one of the better quarterbacks in the whole country. And I truly believe that because I put in the work. And, my film is very limited right now, but these next few years it's going to grow, and I'm going to show everybody that, just because I'm not the biggest guy, the fastest guy, the strongest guy, that I can't ball, because I can, and I'm going to show that to everybody. And Playmakers Corner is going to be right there front row to see it.
Yes, sir. That's what I love to hear, man. I love the confidence, and I loved everything you had to say there, man. Honestly, it sounds like you got a good head on your shoulders. Obviously, your dad, he was a football guy. He is a football guy, so I definitely get that for sure. Those kind of kiddos always go a long way, if I'm being completely honest. So that's all good to hear, man. And like I said, you only had 2 games this season. I think most people will, be understandable of that and be like, well, it's a COVID year. Some guys have 0 games on the season. So, there you go. And so that's you're very lucky to have what you got there, and you'll grow, and people will notice you and all that, and all that stuff. So that's good to hear. But kind of moving forward and whatnot. Still kind of talking about your game though, but with the season over and all that, and maybe you are already working on some of these things. But what are some things that you are making a point of working on this off season, or you have made a point of working on this off season?
Well, we have a very, very big playbook at Eastwood, and we don't have like a wrist coach or anything like that. So we have signs. So quarterbacks, receivers, and running backs have to know the signs, and the
Yeah.
quarterback has to know the calls to tell the offensive line, what to block. Or so I've had to really learn from our senior quarterback this year, Andrew Martinez. Yeah, you need to check him out too. That kid is, I think he's D1 talent. He's only about 5'11", 155. He's a small little guy, but let me tell you, that kid can ball, and he's been taking me under his wing, and he's showing me the playbook, and he's taught me all the plays. And right now we're practicing for 7-on-7. We're gonna leave to San Antonio very soon,
Hmm.
and so he's been teaching me a lot of things that are a part of our offense. And one of the things that you guys pointed out that is major in our offense is looking off and throwing your receivers open. So we are a very pass dominant school. So when
Hmm.
uh, when you said like I have to learn and get better at looking off safeties, Andrew was one of the first ones to tell me that he's 100% right, and I'm getting better at that. So that's one of the things I'm trying to harp on, getting faster. So you said I run like a power back, and that's a very good thing. But I can be a little faster and be a little
Sure.
bit more dangerous on my feet. So those are a couple things that I'm working on, and of course, you got to lift every offseason, get a little bit stronger. So those are the things I'm working on.
All right. Sounds good, man. And love that you said that you're working on looking off those receivers. Honestly, that is a next level type of thing. I mean, well, in Texas at least, you got to be able to do that eventually, especially if you're running the spread. Kyler Murray ran the spread up in Allen, and it took him a minute. I mean, obviously, he had to sit out a year anyways, and so the spread offense isn't exactly an easy offense. But if you could master that, then moving forward, there aren't many offenses that will be that much more complicated. Moving forward, but you never know, so that's a good thing that you're getting all that worked on, because I know I as a defensive player up in Plano, I had to study the spread and look at those ins and outs, and there's a lot of them, and that's why it's so effective, so I totally get that, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing to hear. Also, I'll add your boy on our list too, because I was wondering if there's a guy in front of y'all and whatnot. So I will take a look at him for sure. But all right then. So moving forward, though, you are getting better. You're working. You're on that grind. So what are some resources that you have been using to improve as a quarterback? So this could be like online or in person or whatever.
Well, I watch a YouTube channel called the QB School. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah, I'm
I
familiar. I'm very familiar with it.
I love the QB School. I'm always watching his breakdowns of, another quarterback I love, Justin Fields. That guy's once in a generation talent. So I
Hmm.
always watch his breakdown. I watch all of his breakdowns of cover twos, cover threes, cover fours, cover ones, cover zeros. Um, and what routes beat those different coverages, and so that's one of my resources.
Okay.
Honestly, the internet is basically the key to anything. You can literally look up anything and learn anything. So looking up just about anything. My QB coach is Coach Veliz and Mitch Evans. Those guys train me, and I love those guys to death. Uh, they've helped my game grow so much, and I also went to a QB Universe, and that was a really big camp, and that really put it into perspective of how how good everybody is, and how much competition there is in the rest of the country. And so that was another big resource. They also had QBIQ, Trent Dilfer's QBIQ. It was
Yeah.
interesting. It was a It's a lot, honestly. Like it's like studying for the SAT for that thing. Like it's crazy. And then yeah, so those are some of my resources.
Good. That's really good to hear. You don't. It's not every day you have a freshman looking at the QB school. There's some stuff there as a coach, and I've been following them for a minute. It's been, geez, I mean, I guess okay. I guess I listened to them and watched them in high school as well, but it was more on the back end when they're getting a little bit more popular. But that's really interesting that you brought that up. We'll have to tag him and see what's up there. All right, then that's good. That's good to hear, and I'd expect no less out of a Texas quarterback for sure. Putting in that work, so that's really good to hear. Also, just to throw this out there, I don't know if you've heard of this podcast or if you're into podcasts at all, but have you heard of Strong Opinion Sports Podcast with Zach Schaumler?
I have not.
That's a good one to look up. He has a YouTube channel as well, and he does. I mean, I guess he does a bunch of like sports stuff. Like he covers like football and sports all together. But he does film breakdowns on some high level like athletes and whatnot. Usually quarterbacks in this upcoming draft and all that. And he's been doing that for 2 or 3 years. He used to play quarterback. He was around Trent Dilfer for a minute as well. And I believe he played up in Oregon, I want to say, kind of in the Portland area. So, he's been around some good quarterbacks like a Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen types. So that'd be a good one to check out as well, because his analysis and breakdowns are pretty easy and simple and pretty fun to listen to as well. And he tells it as it is. So that's a good one that I like to listen to as well. Just throwing that out there if you'd like. So,
I need to check him out. Yeah, sounds real cool.
yeah, for sure. All right, so moving forward, obviously your last season, it was what it was. Like you said, you played 2 games. How many games were you a backup by chance, if I may ask?
So we played 2 freshman games, and I started those 2.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got pulled up to varsity, I was really just a scout quarterback, and then
Okay.
I was the backup for. Let's see, we played. I was the backup for 5 regular season games on varsity, and then our 1 playoff game against Abilene.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's a couple, games in there for sure. So that's interesting. Well, with that being said, how has this last season impacted your focus this off season? And what were some lessons that you learned from last season?
I learned for sure that nobody's gonna push you. You gotta want it or you don't want it. So, I would say that everybody looked at COVID as a bad thing, and it surely was. 2020 was a horrible year, but it gave me so much time to figure out myself and like start focusing on like my goals and the bigger picture. There's a lot of high school kids that they all say like, oh yeah, like I want to play D1, or like I just want to play ball, like I just want to play college ball, I want to have a good job, all that stuff, but like they don't put in the work for it, so it really gave me time to reflect and start working on that and getting towards my goal. So I had no worries about school. School was out for, what was it, 3, 4, almost 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very long summer to just, be in the weight room and, study. And, I was getting together safely with my buddies, and, we were going over, all right, these are the routes. We had never really seen most of the stuff. So the stuff they would post on the Google Classroom for us, we would all study it, and we would, get together at least 3, 4 times a week, and we would go over it, and I would throw routes to them, and we were just grinding together, and we all had the same tunnel vision, and we all have the goals and aspirations to become collegiate athletes, and whether that be Division 1 or Division 2. And I think many of my teammates and many other players in El Paso can, and I've seen the work ethic, and some of these guys are just very underrated, and they still have that tunnel vision, even though they may not be the most highly recruited guys. So I just had all this time to focus in and start really working towards what I want in life. And so COVID for me, it was a horrible thing, but it helped me a lot. It helped me open my eyes and really learn some things about myself.
Yeah, and that's good to hear, man. I mean, obviously with this pandemic, everyone takes it a little bit differently, right? Everyone has their, I guess, different coping mechanisms and whatnot. And there were a lot of athletes who, saw it as kind of a bummer, right? And they didn't put in as much work as they could, and they got a little lazy. And at least up here in Colorado, and I guess a little bit in Texas, it showed that some players were obviously more prepared than others. And right here, I do coach as well, and I tell my players all the time, like, hey, it's a blessing to be able to play. There's some guys, some players and teams, they haven't played in almost 2 years now. By the time they play again, it will be almost 2 years. So, that makes y'all ready, and y'all got to take advantage of that because, there's always a silver lining. You just got to find it. So that's a good attitude, and that's good to hear. So, you're putting in that work, you're continuing to grind and whatnot, so we're looking at year 2 here. Obviously, year 1 was a little bit of a mess with COVID. You didn't get to prepare as much as you want and all this stuff, but, moving forward, we're hopefully looking at a little bit more of a normal season come this fall, which is a couple months from now, so we have time. But, how are you feeling about this upcoming season?
Man, I feel great. I'm just looking at it as an opportunity. I'm always looking for a chance, and if God forbid that Andrew were to go down this season, I'd be the next man up. So I gotta always be ready, and this is just my time to learn and grow. And by my junior year, or it could maybe even be this year, I gotta be 100% ready. If they throw me out there, I just got to be ready, and I know I'll be ready. So that I just gotta always keep working hard. I once heard if you're always staying ready, you never ever have to get ready. So right. That's what I live by.
Yeah, for sure. That's good to hear, man. So moving forward into this next season, I could take it as that you're probably going to be the backup, maybe get some JV starts most likely.
I will most definitely get some playing time because we steamrolled a lot of the teams this year.
Yeah,
we're in this area. We have trouble with a few teams, but for the most part, we can beat almost everybody here in the city, and no doubt in my mind that we can win district again this year.
Mm-hmm.
And we just need to keep working hard, and so. I think I'm gonna definitely get some solid, meaningful reps on varsity, and most likely be playing a lot of JV.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good to hear, man. You'll get out there for sure. All right then. So, moving forward, obviously with your team, you are part of this varsity squad, but you still got to prepare like you would be the starter. Like you said, you got to stay ready, right? So. That being said, obviously y'all have some goals moving forward into this next season, and obviously you want to improve on what you built last season, right, and get better. So to take that next step forward, what are some things that you feel like y'all as a team and you as a player have to do differently this year to take that step forward?
Well, definitely, one of the things that my Coach Lopez has always harped on is find an excuse to win. So you have no excuse but to win. So we just gotta make no excuses. And there's a lot of things in El Paso that a lot of teams in El Paso haven't won state, and that's mainly because nobody has the mentality that like, oh yeah, once we go out of town, we can beat these guys. Everybody's like, oh, well, once we go out of town, we start playing Dallas and all these guys, we're going to lose. And that's definitely not the mentality that Coach Lopez or any of the Eastwood football players have. We all have the mentality, win district, but we're not there to win one golden ball. We're there to win 3 or 4. We want to go farther than the first round, the second round, the third round. We're never like, oh yeah, we won district. We're fine. The main goal is state. That's all that our minds are set on is to win state, and it's very ambitious. But why not? Why not us?
Yeah, no, for sure. And you got to have that mentality, and, that's definitely something that I talked with Kenny Long about when talking about Jeremy Duran and, a lot of the quarterbacks and just teams on, your side of Texas. And I don't think Jeremy won state this year. They made it to the playoffs, though, I believe. I don't think they won state. And so they're getting close, though. When I talked to Kenny last and, followed some of his games, they are getting close. And, to be a team like that, or to just honestly just be a contender in general, you got to have that mentality that, like, hey, we got to play that whoever offense, whoever football. And that means whoever's in front of us, we go whoop him. And that's it. So I get that for sure. All right, then. Well, that's good to hear. So, obviously, moving forward, you got your goals for this season. But, just in general for your high school career, obviously, assuming that you're going to get better and, there won't be a quarterback that comes up that can beat you out for the job. But after your sophomore year, you'll most likely be the starter for varsity. And so, with all of that being said, what are some goals that you have for high school football?
I definitely want to. I definitely want to take my team to the farther in the playoffs than any Eastwood team has, which is 3 rounds deep, which is pretty deep. It's not close to state, but my goal is to be one of the first teams to go past the 3rd round, and I have no doubt in my mind that we can do that. And we have a lot of talent at Eastwood. We're a very well-rounded school, so no doubt in my mind that we can do that. Eastwood is known for having very, very good quarterbacks. In the past few years, we've had very good players. We've had Mark Torres, who's now playing at Incarnate Word.
Mm-hmm.
We had Chris Castañeda. He was an absolute beast. That guy is playing JUCO baseball, and now we have Andrew Martinez. And I want to be a part of that rich history of quarterbacks from Eastwood. And so that's definitely one of my goals, to be a starting quarterback. And I gotta ball out like those guys did before me. And nobody expects Eastwood to lose. So one of the things I gotta do is keep them winning. We can't have a losing season. That's not something we can do. As soon as I get the starting job, I want to win district. No losses here in El Paso. I'm not going to lose to any teams here. That's another one of my goals. And another one of my goals is play Division I football, and if not Division I, Division II. If not Division II, Division III. If not Division III, JUCO. If not JUCO, NAIA. I just want to play ball.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's good to hear, man. That's good to hear that you have some pretty set goals here for high school ball. I feel like this isn't a knock on any of the other quarterbacks we've interviewed, but, they always say the same old thing, like, yeah, I want to win state, or I want to do this or that. But obviously there are steps to doing that. And, for you, that starts with dominating your area, right? You got to. First off, to make the playoffs to begin with. And then after that, we're going by rounds, especially in Texas football. Those playoffs, they go pretty deep compared to other states. They definitely go deep. I know Texas, I'm pretty sure that state game is usually in December or near the end of December there. And so
almost.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
yeah, it's a long season.
For sure. And it's it's a season where you gotta take those steps. You gotta have mini goals here and there where you're focusing on the little things moving up. Because if you try to take it all in at once, it could definitely be a little overwhelming. So that's really good to hear that you have those goals there moving forward. And obviously winning state, I assume, would be the ultimate goal, right?
The ultimate goal. That's always the ultimate goal.
Yeah, for sure. All right, then. Well, love to hear it, man. So now that we're kind of wrapping up this interview here, is there really anybody here in particular that you'd like to give a little shout out or mention who has been important to your academic or athletic career that you'd like to thank on the show? So this could be friends, families, coaches, and then, teammates as well. I know you mentioned that senior quarterback, Andrew Martinez, as a mentor to you. But is there anybody else?
Definitely, my mom and my dad. I wouldn't be where I am without them. My Lord and Savior. I don't mean to get religious because I don't know if everybody else is, but I believe in a God, and
Hmm.
without Him, I wouldn't be where I am, and He blessed me with many things in my life. Um, my nephew Ace Cortez, that kid's gonna be something one day, and he definitely motivates me to give him a role model to look up to, and all my family, they've always been by my side, and they've always been quite understanding that to be great, I'm not going to be able to make it to every single family function because I got practice, I got to hit the gym, and
Hmm.
they've always been very understanding. And of course Andrew Martinez, Isaiah Pena, those are some guys from Eastwood that have helped me a lot. And Coach Lopez, Coach Lopez has been he's a great man. He's a great coach, but he's not just about winning football games. He's about winning the game of life, and he's always been a great guy, and he's always harping to us. You got to be a good person, a good man, a good husband, a good boyfriend, a good son. And before you can be a good football player, you have to master all those things. So those are all of my shout outs. So
All right, man. Well, that's good to hear. And also, no worries, man. I'm a Christian, so I get it for sure. For sure. So that's awesome to hear. Honestly, man, it sounds like you got a real good head on your shoulders. You're mature, and you're about that grind, especially too. There are some players who, and that's okay if they're not. For football, that is, but they'll find it, and it sounds like you're about that grind, not just with football, but with sports, life in general, and that's a really good thing. And so, moving forward, man, we look forward to watching more of you. Obviously, we're in Colorado right now, but we definitely want to catch one of your games in person here, whenever possible. So we look forward to that, and we'll be watching for sure. So thank you for coming on to the show, man. We appreciate it.
well, thank you for having me, man. Can't wait to see what the future holds for your guys' channel, account, podcast, and what the future holds for my career. And you guys will be here along for the ride, man.
Yes, sir, for sure. All right, so that'll wrap up this episode of the Playmakers Corner podcast. Make sure to follow us and show us some love on social media. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok as well. Also, check out our YouTube channel as well. We'll probably be posting more content there, all of the breakdowns that we've done so far, along with those highlights, hopefully, if we could get that figured out. And then interviews like this one. So, and obviously if you're listening to this, whether it's on Spotify or whatever streaming platform you're on, go ahead and give us a good rating. We appreciate it. So yeah, but that'll wrap up this episode, and we'll catch you later.